Mm. Hey man, how you doing?
Hey man, how are you?
Good. How are you?
It's a nice apartment.
It's all fake.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's very odd that the apartment was real. So.
So what's up? How you doing?
Oh, probably the same as like the last time I talked to you.
All decked out in your Browns gear. My wife be impressed.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I think I had it on. I was gonna like go out today for a hot second, and then I ended up not. So it's like changing over into something that was just like around. Yeah, I don't know. So yeah, when's the last time we even like met? Like November, October, something like that. I don't
Yeah,
know.
it's been a while. I think we met for like 5 minutes one day, but the internet kept crashing. But yeah, it's been a couple months. So yeah, how's the business going?
It's okay. November was really good, like probably my best month ever. December was pretty good too, but a little bit less, and a lot of it was, I think, just because it's the holiday and try to fit stuff in. January, J months are always slow, so last month was pretty slow, and this month has been it. There's been a lot of stuff going on, but just not really a lot of money being made. I had two events that were just total busts. Like, well, I don't want to say total busts. Let me rephrase that because that's a negative mindset. One turned into somebody booking a party for some people, like their friends and stuff, but it was me sitting there for 5 hours until that happened.
Mm.
Right. And I waited that long because they had called in and were like, "Hey, are you going to be there?" And so I was like really just waiting for them. Um, So I kind of sat there for 5 hours, really not doing much. But hey, like that came about. It's fine. It's just really hard, like just eating it, of being like just sitting there for 5 hours waiting for that type of a thing. It's tough.
Yeah. What do you do in those times?
I think I posted. I'll talk to some people. Like,
Yeah.
don't get me wrong. Like, there was somebody else there who I was talking to some stuff about, and there's some like networking things, but it's just like I'm not treating anybody. I'm not actively making like money, right? And it's the hard thing where it's just like where we've talked about before, like the unpaid hours of stuff is just
Hmm.
like those are the things that I feel like just get to me the most. That is just like, um,
Yeah. No, the thing that's hard for like your business in particular, but I think just like humans in general, it's like everyone wants a job because it's easy. It's like dollars per hour, time equals money. But I mean, what you're building up to, if you continue going down this path, is exponential, right? It's like the things are gonna, a lot of the dollars per hour doesn't make sense unless it gets larger, right? And you start having a team, you start having like recurring people, like I don't know if that's on your roadmap or how far away that is, or if it's, like a pipe dream, but I feel like that's when the asymptotes like
I don't, yeah,
cross,
I don't think it's a pipe dream. I definitely have like recurring people, but it's like it's a handful, and I'm not gonna like be upset about that. Like, I have people that are coming back to me and using me for things, which is great, right? Like, I definitely have like a core set of people who I can like pretty much count on to kind of be around. I think another thing that's just been really hard is I've just broken into this new space, and I think we talked about it. Like it was one where they were supposed to be ready, and like it was just kicking the can down the road
Mm,
like months and months, and I mean almost a year before
wow.
any of us got in there.
This
And
was that one salon.
yeah, that's like
Yeah.
right by my house. Yeah,
Mhm.
and I can understand in our heads sometimes we like think things are going to be a bit bigger, you know what I mean, or like happen quicker. Um, but I mean, I'm on month 3, and like I haven't had anybody like from there. Like if I've
Mm.
had anybody, it's been someone that I've kind of like had from before, and it's just been like an easier meeting place, as opposed to it being like new people from that space. I've even had people that like work there where it's like, I try to like, hey, if you guys like, I'll give you guys some deals here if you guys spread the word and, talk about me to your clients and all this stuff that are in the chair, right? And like, I had a couple people say that they're interested, and then they like, and I don't know if it's like, I take things personally, right? There's a part that I know that the beauty realm and especially cosmetologists, they're flaky. They're coming to realize like they're flaky.
Yeah.
Just it's the nature of it. And
Well, that's the job they've chosen, right? It's
yeah,
to be very flexible, right? They choose their own hours every single day.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And if the wind so strikes them that they just don't feel like doing something, then they can do it, and they can lie under the guise of kids, schedule, this, that, and the other, right? And which is fine. And it's just like, but it's certain things where it's like they book, they unbook for a reason, they rebook, unbook for another reason, and then they never rebook again. And so it's kind of like, okay, well, why did we even do this in the first? Like to me, that just seems like a waste of time. Like, why did we rebook all these? Why did we even book these things in the first place? Why are we? I guess it's just like just don't waste my time. If you're actually really not interested, don't talk to me about being interested about stuff.
Hmm.
I think that's like the harder thing for me, because I don't know.
These are your custom. These are salon people that would refer people for you, but you wanted to have them try it themselves first.
They're actually salon people themselves, like girls
Yeah.
that work at the salon,
Yeah.
that they're booking something with me
Okay.
at a discounted rate. because then it's kind of like the pay it forward type situation.
Mhm.
I'll discount these rates for you, which I don't have a problem with, but I kind of expect a little bit in return, which is talk me up, show it off to the people that you get the stuff with. So do you know what I mean?
Mhm.
Um, so that's just kind of the situation, and it's like there's a part of me that just gets this feeling like almost like, and I've been trying to go up there to give more face time, and I talked to the owner, and she's like, "Well, I thought you had like your own clientele and you were bringing them in," and I don't know where she got that from. Maybe it's because in the space there's like a massage therapist who had her own clientele who brought it in. This girl with his eyelashes who had brought it in. I had never said that to her. Um, so there was that, and I'm like, so I didn't know that you expected us to like fill your book. I'm like, I'm not expecting that at all. I'm not. It would help. It would be nice. But also, why do you want me offering services if someone's not coming? Do you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
what's the point of that then? Right?
Are you paying rent there?
What?
Are you paying rent there?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, I think they're just trying to sell the rent, right?
Possibly.
Yeah.
Um, it's been really hard getting a read on people, and it just feels very inconsistent, and it just feels. I understand that's also their place of business, and they're doing stuff. It's not like, hey, we need to do, but it just, to me, it sometimes feels a little bit frosty.
Mhm.
Um, um,
So, um, I guess something I wanted to kind of ask you or talk through with you is like I guess kind of what I started with, which is like where do you see this going in 5 years? Like, what is this take over my day job kind of thing?
hopefully, I'm not doing this in 5 years. To be honest,
Yeah.
with you. Hopefully, I'm really not. I don't. I really don't enjoy the. I mean, there's a part of me that kind of likes it when I see somebody who like really likes enjoys their lips or whatever it is, or like something that's like more of an immediate effect, or like they tell me, like it feels good, but it's also at the sense of like I'm just like I don't know, that's not really that fulfilling to me. Um, at least I thought it was going to be like but it's not. And for five, like the only way I could see myself doing this in 5 years is if it just fits into my schedule a lot better on a consistent basis. Like, say I have 2 or 3 days out of the week after I'm done with work at the VA that I can go there and I have, let's just say I have like 3 hours there and like all those 3 hours are booked up so let's just say 10, not 10 hours out of the week. It's full, it's consistent and everything like that. I could do that. I could do that.
Mhm.
The way that I'm doing it right now, no way. Driving all over the place. One of the events was in Strongsville. I don't know if you know where Strongsville is, but it's like 50 minutes away from me. That was the one
Yeah, yeah.
I sat there until the person came at the end, right? Um, and I guess it's just these things where, so like that salon, and where I feel like it's almost like I feel like I'm not wanted there. Kind of is. Sorry if I'm venting to you.
No, it's all good.
Probably like my therapist.
These are the shit that no one wants to talk about. It's the hard part. Yeah.
It's like, so they had a Galentine's Day event last Thursday, which was what, the 7th or something like that, right? So yeah, they had a Galentine's Day event. 2 weeks before the event, they messaged me and say, hey, listen, we're doing an event at this day to this day. There was no previous talks to me. It kind of just felt like it was like very like a last minute thing, which is frustrating. But also I'm like, okay, well, I guess these people just do things last minute. And I'm kind of like, well, I already have an event that afternoon, so I can't come. And also during the day, I'm at the VA and it's like 2 weeks away. I can't just call off. Right. Like I could, I just don't, I'm not that's not my character. Like I don't
Mhm.
just call off of work because I don't feel like going in or something like that, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So, anyways, so then I was talking to somebody and they're like, "Oh yeah, well, this has been something like they're like you're going to be over at Serenity, right? Like the other places." I'm like, "Yeah, like I would have been here if I would have known those." And they're like, "Yeah, like we've been talking about it for about like 2 months." And I'm like, "Wait, what? This is being talked about for 2 months?" But I get told 2 weeks. Then there's things like on Instagram, like this person's stuff's getting posted, this person's stuff's getting posted, like mine isn't getting posted.
Hmm.
It just feels like I'm on like the outside looking in a bit,
Yeah.
and even like, yeah, I don't know, just
Did the owner say anything about that?
about what,
About it? Like, did you ask her if that's happening or why it's happening?
why I feel like it's the outside looking in.
Yeah.
No, I haven't. I feel like I kind of gaslight myself, and I feel like I'm making a mountain out of a molehill. I'm going to cause more problems if I do say something.
I mean, if the choices are bring it up or slowly leave, I think it's in both your interests to bring it up because she doesn't want you to leave, right? It's actually she wants you to be a happy, you know, participant in her salon. That's why she booked you, right? I mean, I think it's in both people's best interest to communicate about the situation.
Hmm. Yeah, I'm sure. It's hard for me to bring stuff up because I feel like throughout my life, even to this day, and the way that our culture is like when you bring something up to somebody, there's always these reactions. Like people just don't respond. It's just reactions, defensiveness, and this and that. And like they're like,
Mhm.
why can't we just have a conversation about it? And so like it makes me feel like I just shouldn't because it's more of a I'll rather just keep it my issue inside instead of creating this external issue.
I have a big problem with anti-conflict behavior. It's one of my worst traits actually. Is I'll often tell two different people that I can do something, and then find out I can only do one of those things,
Mhm.
and I don't know, it's a big mess. And I was actually talking to my dad about this too. He does the exact same thing. And so I don't know if you have like a hereditary or whatever, what a learned behavior with that too. But I've been learning it's very hard for me to break because I do the same thing. I say, is it worth it? Is this going to make it better? And oftentimes the problem is that in the short term it makes it worse, but long term makes it better, and your brain can't like get over the hump.
Mhm. I agree. I agree with that. And I'm more like my mom. My dad is very reactionary, and so that's where the not wanting to do it kind of comes from, or like the hesitation, right? I also feel like that's sometimes like the way that my wife and I'll do it too. Don't get me wrong. I'm not inept from not inept. I'm not. It's not that I'm out of that situation. I know I do it too. Because again, not even hereditary. I think it's a lot of things where whether it's hereditary or it's just conditioning that we see and that we pick up, right? So
Mhm.
my dad's reactions and the way he would react, I do that too because that's what I would see and that's what was given to me.
Yeah.
Um, so so I don't know. It's a mixture of things, but like then it's the same thing. Like my wife and I, like we'll bring something up, and I feel like one of us gets defensive, and then the defensiveness turns into like instead of listening to how the person's actually feeling, it's like the other person's just negating other. Well, I didn't do that. That's not what happened. This isn't like
I've been trying this thing with my wife where if I want to fight with her, um I don't, and I don't bring it up for like a month. And then when we're having a good moment, I don't just like ruin the good moment by bringing up a bad thing, but I say, like a month ago when this happened, like I was really frustrated by that, and I probably would have fought with you if I had like didn't have the self-control. And she'd be like, "Oh, okay, I didn't know you were mad about that." I'd be like, "Oh yeah, it's." And then now we're both laughing and joking about how that thing happened in the past, but we're still talking about how to improve the behavior in the future, but we're not fighting about it. And it's actually been a really good like tactic if you can hold on to it. The hard part is to like tell yourself like this person, if I shout, this person can't hear me right now.
Yeah.
If I threw something, this person wouldn't see it. Like they're blinded. They're like their eyes are red and they can't understand anything you're doing or saying.
Yeah,
You're
well,
speaking
it's like
different languages.
you're communicating, but it's like no, we're just yelling. It's not.
Yeah, like no one's hearing anybody. Everyone's just being louder to be heard.
Yeah.
And so no one wins this other than time, you know?
Yeah. I feel like where we're at both at, that we're both just so fried and exhausted from the kids, work, other things going on. It's just, that we're just like, sometimes even someone just talking like, hey, I was feeling pretty overwhelmed, or I was feeling very frustrated at this, and then like that's enough for that person to get defensive.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, no, there's this famous psychologist, her name's Brene Brown, and she has this thing where she goes, when you walk in the door, just tell your spouse what level you're at, because they'll probably understand a lot more what's going on with you before it happens. The thing, if you just say, "I'm at 20% right now. That's all I can do," with the life.
We
so
do that every now and again. It's just a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
Just in general, it's like what we talk about. It's just the consistency, right?
Mhm.
You know what I mean?
No, it's the humanness. Yeah.
Walk in the door and kids jumping at you, doing this, throwing the other one down, and everything like that. Those little moments get interrupted and seemingly kind of, fade away a little bit when everything else is kind of coming at you.
Yeah.
But
No, I mean, the hard thing is the thing about life is like you know how your parents always talk about the good old days, or like probably when your kids are this age?
But they romanticize all the good stuff.
Oh, 1000%. It's all rose-colored glasses, whatever. But like in 20 years, we're going to say these are the good old days, right? Like back when we like aren't in super duper pain when we get off the couch, when we can eat or drink whenever we want. We can see clearly all the things, and our kids don't hate us there very much yet. And I don't know.
Still need us. They still
yeah, right. They're still dependent on us. Yeah. I don't know. I try to remember that. I try to remember there's like it's from The Office. It's like I wish I could know I was in the good old days when I was in them. But it's hard because the good old days are just another day that you're having in real life that day.
So have you guys like moved yet, or where are you guys at with that?
We moved like August. My wife's pregnant again, so we're gonna have a third child in July and then move in August. It's gonna be.
I think Lindsay. Did you tell Lindsay when you guys met that?
I met. Yeah, the first time I met her, actually, we were like on our way to an OB appointment, so it was like kind of.
That's
funny.
right. Yes. Now I remember.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So I've been figuring that part out. We are setting our kids up for school, and I don't know how we're gonna do it. Honestly, it's gonna like July and August are gonna be just chaos for me. So we'll figure it out. But picking out the school will be nice. We're gonna go down there in like a month to go check it out. We gotta rent a house. We gotta move. We just got rid of one of our cats because we have 4 cats. That's like way too many cats. One of them's probably gonna die. We got 2 more. We can't decide if we should get rid of them or keep them. And
are the kids attached to them?
Not really. We got rid of the one, and she doesn't even notice yet. So like, when you have 4 of them, they're in every room. You gotta forget you have 4 or 3 now, I guess. Yeah.
You guys are going to St. Louis?
New Orleans.
New Orleans. Okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, we'll do that for a year, and then we'll do this again next year. So yeah.
Is the goal to come back to Toledo or Ohio, or
I think the goal is to not come back. So we might try to go live in Atlanta. It's where our siblings live. But her job's pretty specialized, so I don't know how many. I don't want to get my hopes up that we have choice. We'll see.
What's her?
After New Orleans, she'll be a colorectal specialty surgeon.
Oh, okay.
So there should be a lot of jobs, but it might not work out exactly perfectly.
Gotcha. Okay. Yeah. Well, yeah, that is a lot, man. Three's definitely different. What are all the ages going to be different?
So I have a 3-year-old and like a 1.5-year-old right now. So the new baby will be here, and I'll still have a 3-year-old, and I'll still have like a 1.5-year-old. So yeah.
Still about the same boat as me.
Yeah. Yeah, you had three kind of pushed together too.
Yeah, they're all 16 months apart.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's a lot, man. The big thing is like, I mean, for me right now, I feel like it's just sleep. Like it just makes me so like just trying to get like, even last night I had all these things in my head that I had to get done, and I do need to do a better job of just like writing things down. But again, sometimes I am, and then sometimes I'm not. But like all these things done, and then like when Piper finally went down and was like consistently down, because it's like we put her down, and then after like 5-10 minutes, she's like moving around, and
Yeah.
I have to watch the other two monitors to make sure one of them don't wake up while she goes in the other room, and so it's just back and forth. So that was almost 10 o'clock.
Mhm.
It's like, okay, well, it's 10 o'clock. Like, what were all those things that I had to do? Right. So
Yeah, we've been in the 3-hour bedtime for I think 4 months now. Started like like all the kids get fed at like 6, and then we're starting bedtime like 6:30, and then our oldest Lorelai has just been fighting us and fighting us and fighting us for like I'd say like 3 or 4 months, and yeah, it's tough. At 9:30 after fighting with them for 3 hours, you're just like
yes.
I don't really want to do anything now. I don't want to. I just want to be left alone.
Yeah.
So
We started using melatonin for Riley because we had the same thing.
mhm.
And listen, that's not, I don't, you guys have your own parenting, whatever feels best for you. I, for a long time, was very much like, I don't want to give them exogenous anything if I don't have to. And it finally wasn't until like, I think one time she didn't even go to sleep until 11. And I'm just like, dude, we can't do this fucking anymore. It's just, like, too much.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, we haven't gotten that far, but our big thing is like she gets so when we've hit a boiling point before, we shut her door and effectively like locked her in her room. And we did that I think 3 times. And then after that she was totally perfect kid, like didn't want to like get to that level anymore. And that was about 9 months ago. And then every day it's been slowly coming back to it. And it's so sad because like now the threat of shutting the door, like she's like traumatized by it. And so we don't do it anymore. I don't want to shut the door, and we never really do it anymore. But
and you don't want to, like, again, like you said, a threat. Like, I don't want it to be like,
no, yeah,
what's going to happen if you don't like. And it's so hard because I feel like our society is all about like getting kids to be like as independent as soon as they can. They should be sleeping by themselves. They should be doing this. And
yeah,
I actually like read, or I saw a couple like neuro like researchers like talking about like actually like it's totally fine and actually good for kids for them to like co-sleep until like 5 years old.
yeah, yeah. My therapist says that too, is that there is no right or wrong with sleeping. Like it just let it be. So we don't let her sleep in our bed because with us, like she does sometimes to like go to sleep, and then at midnight or whatever, we like move to her own bed. But I don't know. My goal as a parent is to not have to exert my power over her as much as possible. I very rarely, I think I can name 5 times I've had to do it, but it's like it's not a do as I say culture. It's not a I'm gonna pick you up and put you in bed kind of culture, but it's hard. It's really because it's just like anything. It's your patience. It's like how do I like
Yeah. It's kind of one of those things too where it's like you want to be the leader, right? But then at the same time it's like finding that leadership style where it doesn't feel like you're being like authoritarian, but then also like you're not like just like you aren't being inconsistent, right? Where like for my son, like I feel bad, but he keeps on standing on the chairs, and we're like, we don't stand on the chairs. That's not what we do. And then he starts getting upset, he grabs the back, and he starts going like this, and it's like now it's even more dangerous. Right? So I now it's just like where if you don't sit down, I give you a chance to sit down. If you don't sit down, then then I'm gonna take you off the chair.
Hmm.
And there's a person I can send it to you that she's very straightforward and direct, but she's very under the sense of like she's like, no, like corporal punishments, don't do timeouts, don't do any of these other things, but also like if they're doing any type of like negative behavior, like don't talk it out with them. Don't try and say like, oh,
Yeah.
like just like no, we don't do that. Or like stop the behavior when it's happening and like consistently like no, no, no,
Mhm.
no, and that's how they understand. And like that, like they learn through doing, not talking, right?
Yeah.
You talking it out and doing all these other things. Yeah, it's okay to like hear and kind of get practicing down a little bit for like them to be like more emotionally intelligent and using words, but at the same time, like they don't understand like, oh, when you do that, that makes so and so feel like this, and when people feel like this, like how do you think you feel when they don't understand? You know?
No, yeah, I read a few books about this kind of same thing, like Count to Three and how to talk to one of them's like how to talk to kids so they'll listen to you.
Mhm.
And I mean, they're kind of aggressive about it, I think. They're kind of like pretend your kid's a dog. Like they like don't you know what you wouldn't talk it out with the dog. Like you would just tell them no. And it's funny because I tried that. I was like, okay, this is the book, they're the expert, whatever. And so I go, okay, Lorelai, we're gonna count to three, and then we're gonna stop. And the book says like count to three, and at three, leave the room and create some like emotional separation between you for the amount of minutes that they are old in years. So like she was three, I would like for 3 minutes I'd set a phone alarm and I would be emotionally distant for 3 minutes, and I would come back and I would say, "Are you ready to, whatever, get off the chair, get on the chair, whatever?" And she would say, still, trying to barter with me or whatever. And I did this for probably like 30 minutes. I kept trying it for 3 minutes and coming back. And then the 10th time, I walk in there and I'm looking at my wife like, "Can you help me, please?" Like I'm trying here. And my wife Carol walks in the room and she goes, "Mommy, Daddy's being mean to me." And I was like, I
Yeah,
don't know what to do with you right now because you're right. I am being mean to you, I guess, compared
yeah,
to what I normally would do. But it's for your own good. But you're catching on to that, like you're too smart to like even be trained right now. So I don't know. So like the whole like argument that like your kid's a dog, it kind of broke down with me right there because I was like, a dog wouldn't identify me as the problem. You know what I mean? Like the kid would think that like the actions of the behavior, like whatever. She like pointed at me as like Daddy's being mean. So I couldn't really like I couldn't explain to her that like I'm not being mean to you. Like, like this is for your own good. I don't know. So I just kind of broke
yeah. Then
down
you're
the
gonna
whole thing.
argue that her feelings are invalid and she's wrong.
Yeah, there's no winning. You're being mean to me because I am being mean to her. She's right, technically. Like,
Yeah,
and so
I mean, when you're I like that. I feel like the thing is you said is like withholding like affection or social. Like, I mean, if I would have read that in a book, I'd be like, I'm okay. I'm not.
I mean, it's just a few minutes. I don't. I was, these. Some books are great. So you assume these people are the experts.
Just to me, that just, and I'm not saying that it's right or wrong. It's just not right for me. Just to me, that doesn't resonate
Yeah,
because that's how I grew up was a silent treatment.
yeah.
So
I had a chair. I had to go sit in a chair alone. Yeah, which is I think still best practice according to these books. But what we do is I do a change of scenery. I pick her up and we walk outside. And usually when we go outside, there's usually some crying for another 30 seconds. But then there's a bird that flies by. She sees the sun, sees the clouds, and it's like, okay, we're hugging, we're cuddling, we're talking, and we're calm again. And we kind of forgot why we were upset because time is an imaginary thing to them. Like time just passes. So that's been the only, and so now it's kind of crappy. It's like a routine. We like literally go outside every night before bedtime, so we don't fight. Like she goes, "Okay, I'm ready to go outside now." It's like 9:30, and I'm freezing my ass off in the snow, like holding her outside for 30 seconds to calm down or whatever, get ready for bed. But yeah, that's been the only like thing I've been able to do. That seems like it's not hurting anybody other than my frostbitten toes, like. But
well, put on socks.
yeah, I know.
Yeah, I gotcha. Yeah, it's tough, man. It is. It's tough. How's everything with the business coming along for you?
I mean, I think pretty good. we're still building. The hard part about I think building things that don't exist yet is like you don't know how long they're going to take, and you don't know. There are a lot of unknowns. So like, um, I've been building like a lot of our data acquisition pipeline. So like we can look at all these different websites that have properties posted and put them all in a database for us to then um, build our model off of. Sean's been working on the model itself, and you know, it's so hard. If you like, if we would talk every day, I'd say like every other day, I'm like, we're taking over the world, super excited, like this is gonna kill it. And the other days, you're like, are we going anywhere with this? Like, is this ever gonna be good? And I just know I need to like just stick with it for I think a good amount of time is like 5 years. So we're like coming up on year one, and I would say like we have a lot of stuff ready. Um, it's just I think we're at the last, like when people say something's 90% done, it's usually 90% done for a few months, while they figure that part out. So I think we're there. But I think we're already better than I'd say 50 to 75% of our competitors. And I think we're trying to decide if we should fight for the 100% or not. What's a good way to start a business kind of thing.
Yeah.
And I think we're kind of going back and forth on that because it's hard. It's like once you hit a wall, you're kind of like, do I keep going or not? And I've been trying to keep going because I think that's where most people quit, is when they hit a wall rather than keep pushing. So,
I feel like it's like where sometimes in my business, I feel like I just want to, pack it all in, shut it down. And then the next day I'll be like, you know what? I'm going to go do some training so I can become better at that. I'm going to go do this so I can do that, or I'm going to do these things so I can expand the business out. Right. And my wife will be like, what? Like just yesterday you were saying that you were done and that you didn't like your, and I was like, yeah, things change. I don't know. Like, should I not be like that? Like, she goes, I don't know. It's just like a bit of like a whiplash. I'm like, well, okay. I'm sorry if that gives you whiplash. I'm maybe just don't take on so much of that. I don't know. I don't soak in my emotional energy as much.
Well, I'll say this, the thing that's really helped me, I don't know if this is like in your purview at all, but like having a partner has been so much nicer because I don't really have those internal conversations anymore. Like, is this the right thing to do? Is this the wrong thing to do? Was this a waste of my time? Like, this other person signed up for this problem solution thing too. And obviously you're splitting profits and stuff, but like I've totally lost my worry about, am I wasting my time? You know what I mean? Because I know it'll take me several years to even unravel this and get out of it, let alone push through it, And it's not a daily question anymore. So I don't know, it's just something that I picked up on that. I've started and stopped several, like probably 30 projects. And it's having a partner is the one different thing that's made me keep pushing,
Gotcha.
You got to find the right person though, too. But.
Yeah. I have an employee that works for me that's pushes my boundaries a bit. That I've definitely gone back and forth with possibly like just severing that relationship. Not that like there's anything that like, and it's one of those things too where it's like, are you doing it because, are you saying it because you are, because there isn't something that's like overtly bad. Like she's not stealing from me. She's not being like dishonest with me or anything like that. It's just like sometimes she makes decisions without asking me, and like kind of like makes it like in a sense that like makes it seem, because she's an independent contractor, that it's kind of like she's a partner more than a was that non-compensated employee NEC. You know what I mean? You're a 1099 NEC, right? Like that's what you're getting. You're not.
So what does this person do?
So she does like everything that I do, right? But she does it on like kind of like her own. But I'm the one that provides her with the materials to do it, right? So I give her the Botox, I give her the needles, I give her all these other things to do it, right? But it's kind of her like setting her schedule, doing things as they come, events and all this other things, right?
I have a question for you.
Yeah.
What would your business be like if you had 10, 20, 30 people like that?
Well,
Sounds like you would get all the benefits you want, which is not
mhm.
having a crazy schedule and not doing all the things you don't like.
Yeah,
And you'd be coaching or teaching. Yeah, I think, I don't
I'd
know.
say
You think of like an MLM kind of thing.
helping it more. I've actually had two other nurses a couple weeks ago tell me that they were interested in doing it. I feel like it's just been some of the headaches that I've had with this one that just makes me a little bit like, ugh.
What is the thing that they're doing that's so wrong and bad?
Um, again, I feel like it's this like I feel like I have to explain things to her that I shouldn't have to explain to
Why? You're setting expectations too high. No. This
her.
is somebody's like whim. They decided to do this. Do not think that they're you.
I guess I feel like I shouldn't have to explain to somebody how they need to do their taxes.
I think the more you handhold in a process way, the more you will get what you want and they'll be better off.
Yeah, or like I have to continually explain why she's getting paid this amount when she's doing all the work, and it just like, do you understand? Like you work as needed for a hospital system around here as a nurse. Do you think you get paid full amount what they bill your rent, your rendered services for? No. Well, yeah, but that's a big hospital system, and that's it's like, yeah, but I hear that, but it's the same thing. Like I'm buying these things. I'm the one that's putting up the capital to buy this vial of Botox. Like why? And then she'll be like, well, I feel like maybe we should do something where it's 50-50. I'm like, well, to me, 50-50 is a partner. You want to be a partner? Do you want to give me 50% of $500 or not even say $2,500 when I buy 10 of these? Sure. Then we can start talking about splitting stuff 50-50.
Maybe I'm getting too far ahead, but I think this is your business model, man. I think this is your thing because I think it's
Now people all over the place.
I think about it. I don't know what all the laws and regulations around this are, but what if you did some sort of typical like some type of subscription service or not a true MLM where you're like the coach and everyone gets people underneath them, but if you productize being a partner, you're selling licenses to be a partner to your business and you're supplying them all of the stuff that they would need. You're giving them the one pager on how to do their taxes. You're giving them all the tools that they would need, and they, have to spend whatever 2 grand up front to get initiated, and then 10% of everything they buy goes to you or whatever.
Mhm.
I think that checks way more of the boxes of how you would do this for the next 5 years than what you're currently doing, you know?
Mhm.
And you wouldn't be looking for customers as much as you'd be looking for partners every day, you
Yeah.
know? And honestly, it feels like that's more your personality anyways, but that's just a guy on the internet.
What's my personality?
Not posting, about the business as much as wanting to build relationships. You're not a flashy, like, watch me do this, you're more of a, like, let me show you how, to make this better kind of, I don't know, that's just my take on it.
Well, I would agree with you on that. Yeah. Yeah, that's not a bad thing for us to kind of continue looking at moving forward into that sense.
I mean, this person might put a bad taste in your mouth about that idea, but think about somebody that, actually like think about like college students that might actually like this might be actually a really good thing for them to do if they knew how to do it, like while they're in college. You know what I mean? And it takes a little bit of upfront money and training, but then they're yours. And if some of them blow up, you're their supplier. It's kind of like you're kind of their boss in some ways.
Yeah.
Um, but
Yeah.
I
I
think
got
you
you.
get a lot of the benefits with very little of the cost, other than annoyingly stupid problems that you would then turn around and build a process to handle and say, okay, it's in this book, read the book, And once you build enough of those books up, everything's, not a problem.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. I think it's just certain things where again, it's expectations of some things, and I think it's just because, when she came on, she goes, I'm gonna I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna do this, and I'm gonna build like our brand up and do all these things, and I know people because I'm a nurse and do all this stuff, and I feel like she really just does the bare minimum, and a bare minimum is being nice. And I get it. She's a stay-at-home mom currently now for 3. It was 2 when I first hired her, and she had her third, and that's fine. Like the model that I have of her making money is basically like you make money when you work. It's not. I don't pay her hourly. She gets certain treatments. She gets a certain amount of money for doing. Right.
Can you write these down? I would love to look through them and see if we can modify them for her or the next person to be the goal is for both parties to think it's such a good idea that they would feel stupid saying no, right? Like that it's such a good idea that you get 10% of anything they do for the rest of their life or whatever, and they get whatever, all the training and all the resources they could possibly need to be successful at this. And that, whatever. I think we can work through that, but only if you think it's a good idea. But I think this is more on your speed of what you're looking for, in my opinion.
So the one thing I pay for is I pay for I pay for malpractice insurance. Right?
Perfect.
On their malpractice, right? But again, it was even like those things where like she goes, I just don't understand why. So breakdown of some things. I couldn't even tell you what she makes on the other stuff right now because she hasn't done those things yet. Like it's been over a year. She hasn't injected lip filler once. She was supposed to take a training on microneedling. She never did that. Right. So it's only been Botox where she was supposed to, but yet she was supposed to do all these other things.
I'm sorry. Last question. What does the training entail? Is that training that you can provide?
No, they have to do. So the other thing was she bought the training. Like, there's different places you can go and do it, like different accrediting, like little things. Like, I guess at some point I could become I don't know what the ins and outs are of me actually becoming like a trainer.
That sounds, if it's possible, that sounds amazing.
Yeah.
Right.
Mm-hmm. The only problem is I mean. I want to say the only problem caveat is like my training is very limited in the scope of the 5 things that I do. The more training I get, the more ones that I can do, right? Where some of these other people can just go straight to those places and get all those things done, right? Mm-hmm. So it would just be that building up of the thing where I also don't know if that's what I want to do is like, I don't know.
Sleep on it. We're just talking here, but
like there's parts of me that's interested in doing more stuff, but then the other part is like where, and I mean, if you're training people, then you keep your skills up, I guess. But because like there's certain things that, for example, I'm trained to put filler right here. Well, I learned that almost a year ago, and I haven't done that on anybody because no one's asked for it, right?
Mm-hmm.
I've done 1 cheeks. I've probably done 5 lips. Like my clientele is not getting a lot of right. And it's funny, 15 minutes south from me, there's this one lady, all she does is filler. She hardly does any Botox. I'm just doing Botox all the time. And it's her clientele it's different because it's a different cultural clientele. Mine is mostly white women. Hers is mostly women of color. Mm-hmm. And they want more of like a quicker instant gratification of what the filler presents and like more of like a robust, like, she does these lips that are like out to here, like they're huge. Anyways, so the one thing that I would say so typically I charge $11 a unit, right? For let's just say the Xeomin that we use. It costs me $5 a unit. So it's 11. She gets $2 of that, and then I get the other portion.
So 11, $5, and $2.
So she gets $2. So she injects 20 units. She gets $40. Mm-hmm. And then I get the rest. I get $9. and that's paying back. So then I get $80 for, my profit. Now, that doesn't always happen because to try and be competitive in this game, a lot of times you're giving $50 off to get people in. I do $50 off for every new person. For a while, for her to get up and running, she was doing a promotion to get her business started of like $9 a unit. So she was getting $2, I'd get $2 or $7. But I say $2 of like actual profit within itself. So yeah, it kind of was like after we initially had the onboarding talk of like being like, hey, so this is what we're going to do, right? Is this how it's going to be? She kept on like questioning me, like, I just don't understand why. And like, you're making so much more money, right? Like she's getting $2, I'm making $4. Like, well, I have all this other startup expenses that I did, right? And like, I'm paying back all these other things, and there's stuff that I can't sell, right? My own training, I can't sell that, right? So I'm recouping that expense. I know what you're saying. I can't sell, to reverse lip filler. You have to have this like enzyme that breaks down the filler, right? In case you have like an occlusion or something like that. Well, there's no resale for that. That's just having something on hand. It's like you don't resell, I'm sure some people do, but you don't resell fire extinguishers, right? You have them there. You pay for them so that they're of use in an emergency. So again, a number of things that I could list it on that aren't in a resell situation. Expenses, supplies, all these little things that I'm not making money off of. Where I feel like it was just this kind of like, not constant, but repeated questioning of like, why is she not getting like almost like I'm stiffing her on what she thinks she's actually ultimately owed. And
I would be curious what kind of agreement she would want. I think you should ask her about that. Not that you'll give it to her.
I even asked. I said, what do you think would be more agreeable? She said 50% of the profits, right? So let's just say, it was, so we would split that $6, 50.
Yeah, 3 each. Yeah.
I get 3, right? And in an emotional standpoint, I can hear what she's saying, right? But like in a logical standpoint, I don't, because one, it's my business, and two, I know all the other ins and outs that go into this. That again, I'll give you split the profits if you're splitting the costs of all these things that I have to do to provide you to do this. I'm giving you the needles, I'm giving you the syringes, the bandages, the cleaning solutions, the vials of boat. I'm giving you the saline that you mix with. I'm giving you all these things. And I also deliver them to you, right? I go over to your house and I give them to you. You're not coming to me to get them. You're not doing any of these things, right? And it seems like she has mindset.
How much would it be different if you gave her 50-50 but charged her a delivery fee? It might be a mindset thing. It might be the same amount of money at the end of the day going to you and her, but I would think of it from that perspective. Like she wants to think of it in terms of I do this, I get that. And that's fine, but you might have a hidden fee laid in there somewhere where you still break even on the whole agreement, difference. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Because you get 100% of the profits. It's your business, okay? I'm here to help you. I have a $100 delivery fee though.
Yeah.
Whatever, that might be a different way of sprinkling it in where you still do fine, and you're not really relying on her to make money for you to make money. That might be a different way of thinking about it, depending on what is better or worse for your people,
Yeah. So yeah, that was kind of the thing that was just like, and then again, like, and I guess it was funny, and I guess it's just what I have the expectation of. Like her husband is a branch manager for like PNC.
Mm-hmm.
And she's like, my husband and I are wondering, how does this work? How does this work? I'm gonna be like, this guy, like, what doesn't he have? Like, didn't you say he has a bachelor's in like finance or something like that? Like, what the fuck? Like, why am I explaining this to you guys? Right? Like, she was so concerned about the taxes and like a 1099, and I'm concerned that I'm not going to be able to do this. I'm like, I took care of everything. I sent everything into the IRS. You're going to get something. I'm giving you a copy in a couple days. Like, well, how am I supposed to? What am I supposed to fill out? Like, do you have someone who does your taxes? What are you guys doing? Like, yeah, he does. I'm like, why am I talking to you about a Schedule C? Like, you, I feel like those are the things where I'm just like what, like. And again, probably because I feel like my time's so limited. Like, this isn't what the stuff that I feel like I want to be fielding right now. I guess it's different. Yeah. Like I'm, like how you said, like, yeah, well, you guys want to know how to file taxes? Well, we'll include that in the program. That's another $500 for me to give you all the stuff that goes for taxes.
So there's somebody I think you should look up. His name's Alex Hormozy. You heard of this guy?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. If you read his origin story, he did this. He said, I'm going to take a gym and that sucks and no one wants to go to it. I'm going to turn it into like a world-class gym that's like overwhelming with clients. And then he got so good at doing that he decided to then pretty much drive around the country or fly around the country doing that with everyone else's gyms and saying, give me $200,000 and I will fix your gym to be, amazing and everything. And at first everyone said no. And he said, fine, give me $0. But once you have whatever, 1,000 new clients, then you give me $200,000. And that was an offer so good that they had to say yes, because they were like, I have nobody. Why would I, fine. If you're going to make me $500,000, I'll definitely give you $200,000 of it. My point is, I think it's about deciding how big you want this to be. But I do think if you dream big, I could see you building a big training program, flying around the country, training people to do this. And it's all baked into their whatever $3,000 upfront fee, and then you get a $100 delivery fee on top of it. Whatever, I think we could talk about all that, but I think there's something there where your cup of tea isn't doing the social media as much as it's teaching everyone how to do the actual injection piece, and then let their personalities go wild with how to do that. Yeah. And maybe that's just today's idea, but I don't know. I think there's something there that people are always looking for side hustles, and no one really knows what to do other than Uber, in my opinion. I think yours is pretty niche, and people don't consider it when they think about what to do with their extra 5 hours a week. And I think you're a really easy solution to that problem. Was, what do I do for 5 hours a week? I have a half day off, or I don't have kids, I'm free on Saturdays. Like, what could I do with that time? I could drive for Uber, or I could do this. And honestly, it might be more fun, and I might feel better about it. I might make the same amount of money or more. So I'll definitely sign up for Trevor's, $1,000, 6-hour training program, which includes all the step-by-step instructions, how to do it, how to get certified, how to do your taxes, all of the stuff. And he's on speed dial if I need him. And I could see that scaling a lot faster than what you're doing,
I agree. I think the other side of it is that I look at is all the different, and maybe it's just because I'm seeing it all the time, right? I mean, I feel like yours is a bit different in what you're saying is majority of what is happening. It's like, hey, listen, this is how you inject Botox. Have fun. Here's your, here's your things. The girl that I trained with, and the reason why I went to her, because she does more of the business aspect stuff. Now, she does not do the business aspect stuff. Some of there's a limitation too, because each state is so different, and they're so different in who can do what and how all these things are. And she's very knowledgeable of knowing, like, well, that state you have to do this, and that state you have to do that. And she jet sets around, and she does like a bunch of like trainings for different things and stuff like that.
Oh, so you got caught in one of these. You already did this. You did her program.
Basically, yeah.
Yeah. All right.
So I'll send you her thing just to show you. But again, she's also the same thing. She's not big on Instagram. She says that all the time.
How'd you get caught in her net?
She started, the girl that I knew that got into this, I asked her who she went to, and she said that, and I looked her up, and it felt better than going to this other place that basically it's much more also intimate. Like there's like 15 people with like 5 trainers for 3 days, as opposed to there's a place by me called AAFE. It's like 50 people with 5 trainers, and you do all of it in one day.
Okay, so they already have these things.
Yes, that's the other thing that I'm thinking about. I guess the only thing that I feel more about, like where I could see it being more of something, like again, if it was something to go into, it would be more of like Ohio, because like I know how that structure is. I know how the ins and outs of doing it here is, how you can do it and how you don't. Like if I'm doing something in California, California has different laws on what RNs can do and PAs and NPs.
Yeah.
How the whole
I totally agree with you. I do this thing where I go, I'm just gonna name all the things I don't know. Like you'll figure those out along the way too, right? I mean, like don't let perfection be in the way of good or better. You know?
Oh yeah, I agree. But yeah, and I think the bigger thing is, and I think because also being on the other side of it with the expectations, right, is like I want to be honest with people, and like where I don't want to say it was duped, right? But like I feel like in the training there was the online training, which was a sell. Like, oh my gosh, like you could do lip filler and then like this, and then you could do Botox, and then you do this, and you just made $2,000 in an hour and a half.
They did that. They did that to you. They put you in the net. Yeah.
And then it would be like, oh, well, I've seen that and I've had that, right? Where I like just the other day, I went over to my buddy's house, like a guy that I know, and I made $1,000 doing 2 pretty easy treatments on him. And I was there for about 2 hours. And it wasn't 2 hours of like constant, like we're chit chatting, bullshitting. I'm taking, you know what I mean? Like, yeah, like that's cool, right? Like that's great. At the same time, there's all the other stuff that they really didn't like. Like, listen, running a business is hard. You're gonna have to like. I don't care if you open up a brick and mortar place on this thing. Like, it's gonna be like you need word of mouth. You need to put yourself out there. Like, not a lot of times people are gonna just be coming on in, right? So I think those are the things that are just kind of hard. Like, because I was real about somebody at work, and like these 2 people, they were like, oh yeah, we're thinking about doing this and a little extra side hustle money. I'm like, you can do it, but go work for somebody. Like go work at a freestanding injection thing. Doing what I'm doing, you're not going to make the money that you think that you're doing. You're not. I'm going to be honest with you. Like it cost me $10,000 in lawyer fees just to start this thing up.
Wow.
Yeah. I mean, you start, oh, you want Botox from us? Sure. Well, minimum order is $2,500.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting that the net you got caught into didn't handle things like the lawyer fees, and maybe that's a different selling point for you. Is that you will handle that kind of stuff in the malpractice?
Yeah. I mean, it's like she touched on those things, but it was never like a realization of just like, well, yeah, you have to go there, and it's going to be expensive. Okay. Right. Like, or you're gonna have to do this, or and now the big problem is I feel like it's becoming very saturated. I feel like we're a dime a dozen. Just throw a shoe someplace and you're hitting somebody who injects, right? Or you're hit somebody who's getting into it.
Yeah.
So that's the difficult part about it. And again, like I guess maybe more of like my mindset would be more of like a situation where I'm kind of doing my own thing, but I have some people out in areas that I can't get to, so that I can throttle myself down a little bit and not feel like I have to go so much.
Yeah.
I feel like, yeah.
I mean, the fact that you've got all the hard parts done that everyone else would have to go through, I think is the advantage that I feel you have to take advantage of, which is, if you get more people on your team, you skip all these steps being on my team,
Yeah. I'm going to tell you, well, and it was even a thing of like, she goes, well, that person, I said, it's kind of like almost being like a business within a business. And she goes, well, so she thought that like she was like my business partner. Where she goes, well, why did you tell me to create an LLC? I'm like, well, technically you didn't have to make an LLC. Just it's smart for you to make an LLC and do all these things so that you can track stuff and things that you do, right? Like, your food, your mileage, all these other things. And if something happens, someone sues you, sues me, or anything like that, those things are protected into a certain thing, right?
Hmm.
Her said it was just like, well, I have a business congruent, and it is difficult, right? Like it is a business underneath a business type thing, but it's still like I'm still your employer, not being all these things. And I think it's also that she's just a little ditzy, to be honest with you. And I am trying not to be like me, like she's a little ditzy as well.
Yeah.
Um, so, um, yeah. So, but again, it's those things where I feel like I try to bring people down because it seems like, oh my God, you must be making a killing doing this. And be like, yeah, if you guys want to think that's what it is, sure, but it's not. Like, I did my taxes. I made more money than I thought, but also then I took my expenses and was like, good God, right? Those are the other um, those types of things where it's just like, yeah. So it's tough. It's tough. I did want to ask you. So I tried the other day for my wife and I because we were trying to get on the Chat GPT. She was trying to do something. And I had the prompt, and I don't know if it's just because we talked so long ago that you gave me that prompt, that prompt like doesn't work anymore. But the one that's like, as an expert in your field, comma IQ 200 plus, comma, I forget what the rest of it was at this like juncture. But it said like invalid, like not understanding, not computing type situation.
What are we trying to get out of GPT?
I think she was talking to somebody as like a possible client, and my wife really struggles with, and it's the same thing I struggle with too a little bit. Pricing yourself so that you're not the cheap person and you're not doing more work for what you're actually coming in, but then also not pricing yourself out to a point where somebody, right? And it's a hard situation when you have these people that are telling you, well, like, your value, and someone's going to take that at some point. But then there's also this certain point where it's kind of like, well, especially like even me now, like I know like industry standards of pricing. And it feels like a lot of times, like I get a lot of people talking to me about this stuff, but they feel like they can't do it price wise. So it's like, I feel like, well, what's the harm in taking a $50 to $100 hit on something if I'm getting more people do you know what I mean? It's like more smaller as opposed to waiting for the one big. Because the one bigs aren't coming as much as they are, right?
Mm-hmm.
I was talking about it with one of the girls at the salon. She goes, I could easily raise my prices, and I know that there's girls in the salon that have prices higher than mine, but like I like being booked every day that I work. They're only booked for 2 or 3 people. Mm-hmm. Now they're making more on those 2 or 3 people at that thing, but am I actually at the end of the day taking home more because I have 10 people that day instead of 2 or 3?
No, I mean, I don't think you should do this, but the reason Amazon's so big is because they literally sold books at cost for like 5 years. Do you know that? That they didn't make a dime. They actually lost millions of dollars for 5 years. And their CEO, Jeff, looked like an idiot, right? But like he's played the long game. He's like, I'm gonna have everyone on earth buying books from me pretty soon, and then we'll figure out how to make money. We'll figure out how to sell other stuff. And so that is it depends what you're going after, but it is a viable long-term business product, idea process is to say, I'm going to take less every time. I mean, you got to worry about being undercut, I guess. But if you like being busy and like being booked, I mean, like that might be a simpler way. I mean, also you're dealing with people all talking about it, and volume coming in. I guess the main thing is if can you reduce costs over time? I guess with volume, that might be a different hurdle. But if you could, that would be it.
Some areas now where I am able to reduce some stuff. Like I found a buying group where I can basically half my Botox price, right? Or
Yeah, man,
just
pass that on to the customers.
yeah,
You got that.
or that girl that, like I said, that does all those lips. Like she's going through so much lip stuff that she's ordering such a big volume that she's getting these vials at half the cost that like I normally would, right?
Yeah.
So I feel like those are things that like now that I've been there and I'm networking and because of the person that I am, I'm meeting these people and helping people out to a point that like now they're including me in other stuff, right? So that like now the networks and all these other things, I'm not footing the bill fully
Yeah.
100%. But
No, it's kind of my question about where do you see yourself in 5 years? Because like that is a way to pass that cost savings onto the customer and play the long game, you know?
Mhm. Yeah. I just know, and I guess when I say in 5 years, like I just know I can't do what I'm doing for another 5 years. Like I just, and I know that's the point of like the goal. I don't think I can do what I'm doing at the way I'm doing it for another full year. Like I feel like there has to be some type of like noticeable change that I'm kind of like seeing. And I feel
Yeah.
like some of the things that I need to look at a little bit more too, that I think one of the things that I need to figure out how to amp it up is the me coming to people to do stuff.
Yeah.
Do you need me?
When you're done, you should start.
Okay, I'll be out in a second.
Hey,
My sister's left.
how are you?
So I feel like a lot of times, even though I have it, like I posted about it, I put it on my Instagram. I think it's one of those things that you just think in the back of your mind, well, I have it out there, so someone should know.
Mhm.
And why would I think that, right?
No.
So
Yeah.
that really, I'm starting to get more of my business away from like I'm doing actually legitimately like more. I'm making more money by going and doing Botox parties and or also just going to people's houses and then that person tells somebody else and those
Yeah.
types of things. So I feel like that is a big thing of me that I need to start figuring out how I can like get that word out and amp it up and everything like that. So believe me, I've thought about I put things in my head of like me being in front and talking like you. It's just been a lot of the times too, it's just executing it, like just sitting down and executing it and doing it the way that I want to and everything like that. But like again, like I feel like the other day, like yesterday, I wanted to be like, okay, like I'm gonna like work out, whether it's like 10 minutes or whatever it is. And like I feel like I never got there because I'm waiting for, and I know you can't have everything perfect to do stuff, right? But if I'm downstairs working out and Lindsay goes and runs in and has to take care of the newborn, and then all of a sudden I got to go run upstairs and take care of one of the kids. Like I know that's not the worst thing of the thing. It just didn't feel like it was like a settled enough point for me to like at least starting to execute it. It's like anytime I was about to go do like something else would happen. Something
Yeah.
by the time it's like 10 o'clock, and I'm just like, I'm not gonna go work out at 10 o'clock right now. Like,
I've been working on at 10 p.m. because there's no other time to do it. I've been experimenting with.
right, Brian, you don't need to like.
No. I'm terrible at it. Please, I'm not winning. I'm telling you, I've been the last 2 weeks. I've been trying to wake up at 5 a.m. to get stuff done before the kids wake up. It's really hard. I'm a night owl. But I don't know. The thing I've been channeling is, I think, pick somebody that you really deeply respect, like someone famous or somebody hardworking, and just when you're hitting a decision point, say what would they do right now. And like Kobe Bryant would wake up at 3 a.m. every day to work out. We work out from 3 to 5, from 7 to 9, from noon to 2, and then from 7 to 9 again, and then go to bed. And he had 3 kids, and that was his life. It was a decision that he made every single day, despite being. Well, yeah, but he's a real human too. He didn't want to do it every day, and he had $100 million in the bank. Like he didn't have to do any of these things, but he chose to be the best. And I just, I'm making a decision to not be the best every day. I don't do that. So, I don't know. I'm not there yet. Obviously, it's just, but I'm trying to take people like that and say, why am I so different? What is so different about me other than me, like allowing my humanness to show more than them? But
I got you. I hear you. So do you know what that prompt was again, or that you had before?
Okay, so remind me exactly what you're looking for.
So
I'll,
it was,
I'll text it to you.
you said that when we first met and we were like doing stuff on ChatGPT, that's one of the things I want to go back on for was they gave me the bridal stuff, like, hey, doing like a bridal like combination stuff and everything like that. I
Okay.
want to do that because I'm having a hard time kind of coming up a little bit with like making different packages of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And I know some girls that are in the salon that do like wedding day hair and makeup, and they have
Mhm.
girls booked like a year in advance of stuff, right? So if I feel like, and I'm like, you have all their emails, you have all this stuff, and they're like, yeah. So I'm like I'll partner with you and give you a percentage of, if I'm allowed to, and they sell it and they actually get it, I'll give you like a commission almost of like if they buy these packages or anything like that, right? Anyway, so and then the thing was, I think like Lindsay was trying to figure out like her price point, like trying to like what's like, asking them like what's industry average or what would you, this type of work being done, so her to make like a better decision on what's to charge or whatever.
Mhm.
So it was the like again like I think you said like as an expert in your industry or an expert in your field, comma 200 IQ 200 plus, comma what would you? I forget what because I left that at work. But I know when my wife and I tried to do it, it said like error cannot understand command, and it was the error that you had given me before. I mean the command you had given me.
I'll start with this. There's no like secret formula.
Yeah, it was just the one you had given me to
The main
use.
thing with GPT is, especially if you're using 3.5, not 4, which I assume you are, it's when you tell it to think like an expert. So usually you say think like an expert step by step, and that's usually the way to kind of crack the code of it. You don't necessarily have to put the IQ 120 anymore because I've actually read that that's actually not helpful. But if you think about it, GPT, and stop me if this is totally gibberish, but GPT is a machine that is trying to guess the next 3 characters. Anytime it's outputting text for you, it's guessing based off what you asked it and what it already gave you, what the next 3 characters should be effectively. And so it's a big character guessing program, if you think of it that way. And so it pretends it looks very smart, but it's just because it's really good at guessing the next 3 characters. And so when you ask it to sit to like be IQ 120, it has to go into its data set and only look at data it has that was written by somebody of an IQ 120, which is usually a very small subset of the data set.
Yeah.
And so I do think you're on the right track here, where it's like asking the right question is really becoming more important than the answer, because you get a lot of different answers depending on the question you ask. So but the thing that kind of cracks the code of GPT is when you say think step by step, it really forces it to explain what it's thinking, and then therefore while it's explaining what it's thinking, it's seeing in the previous characters that it wrote that it needs to remember all these other steps. And so when it comes to the really good part of what you actually want, and so it's a lot of like it says it's kind of reframing what you already asked it a lot, but it's guessing those next 3 characters a lot better because it's seeing all the things that need to be in the answer before it gives it. Does that make sense? So when you say think step by step as an expert, outputs have gone from something like 70% accuracy to like 80 or 90% accuracy. So it's kind of like a way of tricking GPT from being orangutan level IQ to being more human-like. GPT-4 obviously is a lot bigger at that. But I think what you're asking about pricing packages, I think I was asking, I can try to find it exactly, but I think I would start by asking it like, think creatively about how to best price this package for my business. I have these constraints, A, B, and C. I want to make X amount of money, and I want to be different than these current packages. And the more constraints you give it, that's when it starts to kind of pick apart the problem and give solutions you wouldn't have thought about. I think the main thing with GPT that you're asking for is a non-human answer usually, and a non-answer of what I already know. So what I often do is say, I already know all this stuff, and that doesn't work because of A, B, and C. Think step by step creatively how to solve this problem, give top 3 answers. And that's when it goes, oh crap, okay, I can't do this. That's the normal answer. I can't do that. That's the second answer I normally give. Okay, let me merge all these. And then the other thing I say is like, think about other industries. You know, think about other products. Think about how a different type of model would work. So like I would say like think about an MLM. How would I create a business that sells Botox in more of a sense like that? Give top 3 answers. Like so, it's kind of like you're trying to like inject things. And so I made a huge breakthrough with GPT the other day where it's like, I didn't know how to solve this problem in our machine learning model that for our pad stats, but I gave it all of our problems and our constraints. And I said, how would you solve this knowing these problems and constraints, and pick a complicated answer. And it made a really complicated answer. And then I said, make it simpler. And it actually like thought about it differently because it had to make a really hard answer in order to be accurate, and then it had to make a really easy answer to make it simplified. And so you can kind of like take it in chunks, I guess is how I would think of it. But think step by step as an expert is kind of the thing that really increases your accuracy. And then I would say you can even change the temperature. I call it temperature. It's how creative it's being, and you can kind of do that kind of stuff. So I hope that I guess helps your answer.
No, it does make sense. And it's going to be just like me kind of like, figuring it out as I go and everything like that. So, okay.
Yeah, but I'm happy to help work through the, pricing models or whatever too. I mean,
Yeah.
the hard part is getting like, all of your constraints in your head into the prompt, because there's a lot of things that's going to spit out an answer, and then you're going to go, oh, I wouldn't do that because of A, B, and C. It's like, okay, I should have put that in the prompt, like, because all these things, it doesn't know, it's only going to output what you input, right? I mean, so.
Okay. All right, man. Well, I appreciate you finally, we finally getting together. Sorry that we didn't we were trying to figure out, like, I'm like, when can I go down to, because
no.
where you guys were at, no, I mean, where you guys were at was probably about like an hour and a half away.
Yeah, it's far away.
But I would like, because we even said we could do this, and then it, things just happen, and I'm sure you're busy meeting, with family and all this other stuff. Whereas, what were you there for?
Christmas. Yeah, just family stuff.
Family stuff. Gotcha.
Yeah, we'll see each other eventually.
Yeah, I'm not a huge fan of New Orleans, but Okay. All right. Well, she needs to put Piper down, so I need to go.
Yeah, man. No, it's great seeing you.
Yeah, great seeing you too. I'll talk to you, man.
Yeah.